Welcome once again to Daily Devotionals for Nurses. My name is Tola Olabi. So, as I was saying previously, you do not have to wait for perfect conditions before you take action. As we're looking and studying the book of Judges 6, we see where Gideon is threshing wheat in the winepress. He is working, he's doing something, he is not just sitting around saying, oh, the Midianites have oppressed us. Oh, we're waiting for God to save us. Your actions, your day-to-day actions show if you believe God or not. And this is one of the reasons why Nurses of Faith was created, to make sure we just don't talk about faith or have a head knowledge about faith, but we are actually changing and renewing our minds daily and making sure what we think matches our actions. What we know about God matches how we show up without even having to say a word, that it matches, right? Gideon was working. He was innovative. Uh, let's see, there's a Bible verse that tells us that God gives us the knowledge of witty innovations. So as Christians, wherever you are, whatever is going on, you have the ability to pray to God and say, Lord, you give the knowledge of witty innovations. And I'm going to pull it up right now. Because I always like for us to pray from the Bible. Okay, and this is from Proverbs 8 verse 12. Proverbs 8 verse 12. So when you look at a situation that looks impossible, this is actually a cheat code. Believing and knowing that God can give you a solution that nobody else has thought about, or a different way to approach something. So Proverbs 8 verse 12, the King James Version says, I, wisdom, dwell with prudence and find out knowledge of witty innovations. So you can pray and ask God. You don't have to be idle. You don't have to be idle. You can ask God, what should I be doing? Right? Maybe you can't find a job, or um, you notice a need. You don't have to be idle, right? There are things that we use now that were not in use 20 years ago, right? In my book, The Emancipation from Employee to Entrepreneur, I talked about how when the children of Israel had to leave Egypt, like they had to walk physically. They didn't have Ubers, right? Ubers weren't invented then. Ubers were not invented 100 years ago. And there's so many innovations that God can give you. You don't have to wait for perfect conditions in order to make money, in order to move on with your life, in order to do what you've been called to do. But you do have, this is one thing I have noticed, you do have to be active, right? Because I know physics, now I can't recall the law exactly, that tells us that an object in motion will always remain in motion. An object in motion is, okay, Newton's first law of motion says an object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion with the same speed and in the same direction unless acted upon by an unbalanced force, right? An object that's at rest stays at rest. If you are lazy or if you're resistant to movement, You probably will always be resistant to the call of God. You probably will be, you probably will delay God's instructions and strategies. But a person who is consistently trying to upgrade their thinking, who is looking for ways to make things better, life better for themselves or other people, right? I know I'm using a law of physics, but that person will probably continue to move. And then when a force comes along, they may change directions because they're already in motion. But an object that's already at rest in inertia may take more effort. So what I'm trying to say is do something. Act. Don't don't wait until God physically comes into your situation. While you're waiting to be rescued, get into motion. Start to make change. It could be the way you show up, right? When before I started Nurses of Faith, it was in the way I interacted with people. I wanted my coworkers to be happy. That was my mission. That was my initial mission. I wanted to see nurses smile. I wanted them to be joyful. So the little things I could do to make people smile, laugh, help them figure out their future, help them figure out uh, kinks, help open up their eyes to a better tomorrow. That was how I started out. So for each and every one of us, no matter where you are, no matter where you find yourself, get in motion. Stay active. Don't let the enemy make you feel like there will be no progress. Know that help is on the way, right? When Gideon was doing all this, he was chosen because he was already in motion. Is my interpretation. He was chosen because he was already innovative. And technically, he was kind of hiding to do what he needed to do, right? He was hiding, but he was working. He was innovative.